It's something.
He's special.
Shannon Sharp, I have told you all year long, I trust these Houston Rockets almost as little as I trust those Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, you've been saying it.
Here we go. I've been telling you for about 3 months, Utah is becoming a force to be reckoned with in the postseason, even now without its quarterback, who you don't have a lot of respect for, Ricky Rubio. But the problem now for the Houston Rockets is they have to go play in what I think is becoming the toughest building to play in the league. Houston is officially in trouble. I am not going to be surprised if Utah wins both games at home. And then we'll see who is mentally tougher, because I think the Utah Jazz are much mentally tougher as an overall basketball team than James Harden, Chris Paul, Mike D'Antoni's basketball team is. Those are the three I just don't trust, and we saw it in full force last night. The signature play of that game, as we just saw, maybe the signature play of the postseason, was that putback slam, and it came with 6:11 left in the game, but it slammed the door on Houston's rally.
That ain't been the playoffs. You know that.
That old step back. But this was a breathtaker. This was a what? This is the kid the rookie who he won the slam dunk contest for a reason. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall. And he Euro steps through the lane, and he's just like, la-di-da, I'll just throw up a little floater. And then he says, you know what? I think I'm going to go up through the entire Houston front line. I'm going to go up over Capella and Ariza and P.J. Tucker, and I think I'll just posterize all three at once. Whammo! Door shut. What have I always said about the game of NBA basketball? Not college basketball. NBA basketball is a game of superstars. LeBron is a superstar. He has been the beast of the East. When you have LeBron, especially in the Eastern Conference, you're just going to win a whole bunch of games in playoff series. All of a sudden, Utah has come from nowhere because this kid came from the middle of the first round from nowhere from Louisville, lost in Rick Pitino's system, a la Terry Rozier, and he said, watch this, NBA. All of a sudden, Utah has a Harden. Utah has a Westbrook. Utah, in Game 6 at home against the Thunder, had a Westbrook. Because what did Westbrook do in the third quarter of that game? He said, watch this, solo will, my warrior will. I'm going to will us home to Oklahoma City for Game 7. Russell Westbrook scored 20 points in the third quarter last Friday night of Game 6 at Utah. And what did Donovan Mitchell do? 22 points.
2 points.
He said, no, Ross, not in my house, because this is now my house. And they say the strength of Utah's team is its team. It is, because he's become the leader of a team that lost Gordon Hayward, that lost Joe Johnson, that lost George Hill, obviously, who wound up with your Cavaliers, and lost Rodney Hood, who wound up with your Cavaliers.
And Joe Johnson.
And I said Joe Johnson, yeah. But the point is, nobody thought this was even going to be a playoff team because nobody saw this kid coming. And all of a sudden, last night, I'm thinking they're not going to be able to get this home without Rubio. And I know, again, you don't love Rubio, but he is their playmaker.
Right.
He's their constant. He gets them in the right places at the right time. He can settle down their offense when they're under siege and under attack in Houston from that three-point shooting Showtime show that is this group. And what happened? Donovan Mitchell said, I'll play point guard.
Right.
And what happened statistically? He set the Utah Jazz franchise record for rookie assists in a playoff game, beating John Stockton's record. What? He had 11 assists last night as the point guard. And what happened to James Harden? Donovan Mitchell happened to him in the second half, because Donovan Mitchell kept saying, let me take him. He and Exum sort of traded off taking him. But they got physical with James Harden now.
Right.
Jay Crowder got a little physical after one whistle with James Harden. They were saying, we're going to play a little football here. We're going to see just how physically tough you are. And Donovan Mitchell forced him into one 3-point air ball because he was all over him, not taking his little whipped cream fakes that everybody else takes, and he didn't get he shot a bunch of free throws. But the point is, Donovan Mitchell said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get us home. And he didn't shoot the ball well at all. He shot 6 for 21. But you tell me, is Joe Ingles going to make 7 threes in game 3? Probably not.
Right.
But is Donovan Mitchell going to go home and shoot 6 for 21? I'll bet you he does not.
Well,
so I'm going to say Houston is in trouble.
And for the very reason you outlined at the very end is the reason why I do not believe the Rockets are in trouble. Because I do not believe Joe Ingles will shoot.
You realize he's been shooting like crazy
Well, how about this?
through the playoffs.
Let's look at it from Houston. Do you think they're going to shoot 10 or less three-pointers, make 10 or less three-pointers? Because they're the number 1 shooting three-point team in all of basketball. They made more threes than anyone.
And they took more threes.
They win 81% of their games when they make 10 or more three-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
They were horrible last night shooting the three-point ball, Skip.
Well, 27%, 10 of 37.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's not very good. And these playoffs, they got 5 points from Ariza, 5 points from P.J. Tucker. That won't get it done. Also, James Harden and Chris Paul. And Chris Paul had a terrible turnover again last night.
Just dribbled it out of bounds. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know. That's another big one.
During the regular season, the Rockets swept the Utah Jazz. I believe they feel very...
They actually swept them by double digits.
They did.
Go ahead.
I believe on the road and playing this ball club. Now, it's not... This team got a lot of confidence. But I believe James... They let him play. They let him play football last night. Because in the regular season, the checks they were giving James Harden, he's going to the free throw line.
They finally called Exum a couple times.
But he was bodying him.
He was bodying him up, and
Yes.
he got away with enough that James was starting to feel it a little bit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm not sure anybody else plays him quite that physically.
I do not believe that the Rockets will shoot this poorly from the three-point line, and they'll shoot this poorly from the field. Skip, they were 38 and 95 from the floor. That's 40%. That won't get it done. And you're going to have to play a little better defense because Utah is not known as a team to get up and down. You allowed 116 points.
Yep.
But the problem is, Skip,
they don't play no defense.
The Rockets put so much pressure on you when that barrage of threes start to go, and all of a sudden the 5-point lead is now 15-25, and before you know it, the game's out of hand. Well, Utah got the lead. And now all of a sudden they're shooting three, and they're not going in. But give them credit. They fought their way back into the ball game and they got close.
My name is Bob Young, and I'm an entrepreneur. In fact, I'm a serial entrepreneur. My very first business venture coming out of school, I worked as a typewriter salesman in Aberdeen, Scotland. And so to this very day, I describe myself as a typewriter salesman. That is what I know how to do. I then found myself in publishing briefly for a couple of years. That detour took me directly into the open source software business. I helped my wife with her needlepoint empire. I'm working to launch Canada's first professional soccer league and had a very successful drone company because who doesn't love flying robots? I've had the great pleasure and the honor to work here at Lulu.com, where we've built one of the leading and certainly the most innovative company in the field of self-publishing. Lulu has built the platform that allows the author just to upload.
But give them credit. They fought their way back into the ball game and they got close. But you than I thought they were. I thought they were an okay team. Rudy Gobert is like 10 feet tall. He clogging up the lane. You can't get his shot.
He bothered a bunch of shots last night because when the threes don't fall, they have to start driving it. Right. And when you start driving it, he's going to start swatting it or changing it.
And Capella is not the guy like Joel Embiid. Like the Sixers threes weren't falling the other night. They got 7'2" Joel Embiid who can play with his back against the basket. Clint Capella is a rim runner. He runs to the front of the rim. He'll get lobs. He'll get putbacks. He's not a guy, dump it down to him. They don't run plays for him. Chris Paul or James Harden drive to the basket, they throw it up, he catches it. He runs to the front of the rim on the fast break, he dunks it. So they don't have a guy that you can say, okay, guys, we're struggling from the outside. Go put your back against the basket. They don't have that. But on Donovan Mitchell's play, Skip, he's what we call a quick leaper. He can go up, and as soon as his feet hit the floor, he's back up again. Everybody doesn't have that kind of explosiveness. They underestimated him. They didn't think he could get right back up that quick. I'm like, when you see it, you're like, how do you do that? I mean, it's like the ball barely touches the rim, his feet barely touches the floor.
And he back up there. The little nigga Hobbs, he got the bunnies, boy. Stop playing with him.
He's like, let me just shoot a little floater. And it looks like he's going half speed. And then all of a sudden, boom,
Yes.
bam. And,
Gonna
and
get
the
Rockets-
are
gonna
looking
get
at
the
each
Rockets
other,
from
and they
a goal
showed a shot on the
for the
highlights
money
press
on the
row, and
wheel.
people are just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It took your breath away.
It did.
And I think it took some of Houston's will away.
Yeah. Still, when you're at home. Now, look, they had at one point had a 19-point lead. Now, big leads like that at home, they're easier to overcome than on the road because you got your crowd. You make a couple of shots, and all of a sudden the team called timeout. You're right back in the game. So give the Rockets credit, but I'm gonna give Utah even more credit because they easily could have succumbed. Because here comes James Harden. He's getting hot. He's getting to the free throw line. He's starting to make shots, and Utah's like, nah, bro. We had this lead far too long. We're not giving it up.
Last year's Utah, led by Gordon Hayward, would have folded under that onslaught.
I ain't even gonna edit that out.
Guy.
I'm gonna keep it going.
This is that guy. This is a star on the
I don't
way
people
to
be adding
being a
nothing, adding nothing.
superstar.
Just
And
live,
he's
just
going up
real.
against a team that I think even you have some doubts about because we know that James and Chris Paul and D'Antoni all have histories in the postseason of failing, falling apart.
They gag a little bit.
Yeah, disappearing when
Okay, a
you
lot of it.
most need them to
Yes.
rise and shine. And last night after the game was classic D'Antoni. I'm watching it. This guy inspires no confidence. He sits up there and it's all like, I don't know. I have to go look at tape. It just
You watch the game. When you watch the game.
I don't know. Who's in charge? Are you just? It seems like he's an innocent bystander when he's at the podium, right? Like he really didn't have anything to do with it. Don't look at me. I don't know.
And that's why the people don't have the trust in him because they've seen him have these high-powered offenses in Phoenix, and we see what happens to them when they get into the playoffs. We've seen James Harden have historic regular seasons, and then he gets to the playoff and he doesn't live up to that promise. We've seen Chris Paul do the exact same thing, but I don't believe those two guys, Chris Paul and James Harden, will shoot 17 or 41.
They probably won't.
I believe they'll shoot better, and this is why I don't believe they're in as much trouble as you are. But the thing that Utah has in its favor, Skip, Indiana won game 1. Cleveland won game 2.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the momentum that Utah had. Utah won game 2 going home.
That was great.
So now their fans like, we really got something to cheer about now. And they might have Mitt Romney with a button down and a jersey over the top of it.
Hey, do they say vulgar things?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, they do.
Yes.
They do. They get all over you. But Joe Ingles, I got to give him some props here.
Oh, yeah.